when we got through the white paper with Art, I looked at him and I said, oh my gosh, can serve the three roles of money. It could. It's already serving as a store of value, but how big could this be, Art? And he said, well, how big is the US monetary base? This is the first global monetary system, rules-based, in history. The worst investment, probably, I felt very responsible at the time. I was at Jennison Associates, and I was that adventurous analyst who was willing to go out and look at Mexican stocks and, Chinese stocks. And the worst investment, we had loaded up on Mexican stocks. I was the prime analyst. And, I did not believe that Mexico would devalue, that because the leadership was saying they would never revalue. Well, we didn't take any of the risk off as that risk was building. And that's the worst mistake I've made, I think, in my career. And it made the difference at Jennison between outperforming the big benchmarks that year and underperforming. We underperformed. So I felt very responsible. I should not have assumed that the Mexican government would be able to overpower global investors who were fleeing. And it was just a big mistake on my part, but an important learning lesson. If there are risks building, and if all you're doing is trusting the word of politicians, well, don't do that. Take some risk off the table. I remember at Capital Group, I was leaving to go move to New York and become chief economist, and many people were saying I had only been there 3 years. I wasn't ready. I was too young because I had started in college. There is so much changing in the world today, particularly technologically, that young people going into the workforce probably know much more than their bosses or the CEOs know about technology. They're digital natives, right? In many ways. And so my advice is, don't go in there and show them your stuff. Go in there, head down, work really hard to make your bosses look brilliant. In other words, bring them along, because they will, if they're good bosses, they will truly appreciate it, but they will also reward you with growth paths that you deserve. But there's a way to do it. Don't walk in, like everything. You always have a certain humility, because they've been through some trench wars themselves and you want to learn from them. So make it a quid pro quo, but the most important thing is think about it in terms of making them look brilliant. That's what we have at ARC. I mean, just an incredible group of people who are so good at what they do. You earn the respect and you earn the trust, and it grows over time. The biggest challenges has happened here at ARC. So if during COVID, because innovation solves problems, from our low in COVID, this is the flagship strategy, and we were pummeled in the beginning of, but from that low point in April or May of 20 to February of 21, we were up 360%. And it was one of those times where we could do no wrong. No, we could do no wrong. And I said to the team, watch out. This is a setup. This is a setup. And so February of 21, we peaked through May of 22. And we think that's the low, although don't want to jinx it. We ended up in a wartime situation because the traditional asset management world is not happy with us. We are giving away our research. We are basically saying the benchmarks are going to be underperformers during the next 5 to 10 years if these innovation platforms disrupt them the way we think they will. We're out there in the open, in media, social media. I think that a lot of people were happy to see our initial descent, And then we had these memes going around. Oh, this is just a replay of the tech and telecom bust in the early 90s. And so they were drawing our flagship quotes against the NASDAQ back then. And it looked pretty similar. And so there were algorithms out there, just one-way street, And so I basically said to our team, I said, okay, we're in a war. We're in a war. This is a ground war. This is what we're going to do. We're going to start publishing pieces about benchmarks and how they do not expose investors to disruptive innovation the way we do. We're the new NASDAQ. We wrote another one. We started publishing our models, more of our models, and then doing videos around them. And we were just out there all the time in the media. I was writing, I was writing pieces as well, tweeting away. So we just took it head on. But we knew we were in a war. When we started ARC, we knew we had to be in New York. But we're doing something now that Capital Group did before the Depression, actually. And we wanted to move to a place where we could make a difference, score or check on both of those. And it's just a joyful place. It's a very optimistic place with innovation all over the place. And I think it could become the next Austin. In California, the largest auto market in the United States, Tesla's Model Y and Model 3 are the number 1 and 2 selling cars, not electric vehicles, cars in the largest state for auto sales. So the next phase of this, though, is autonomous. And this will take Tesla from gross margins in the 20s to gross margins in the 60s or higher, because it's moving into really a software as a service. Elon Musk is our Renaissance man. He's a genius, and we are so blessed. The world is so blessed to have him. And sure, he creates a lot of controversy out there and stirs things up. But for Elon at least, there has been no such thing as bad publicity. It's publicity, and it all works. Tesla has not had to spend a dime in advertising. So I think social media has really worked for him. He's a controversial figure. What I love is he says exactly what's on his mind, and he's willing to go against the conventional wisdom. Again, in active management, that's what we need. That's what we need.